Look at that destruction. That German tank just got flattened. You'd expect the Tiger to put up more of a fight. Now I'm looking in this video to showcase one of the most fun, not overpowered, but most fun weapons that you can attach to your tank, and I'm talking about the mine clearers that are available on the Allied side for the Valentine and I believe the Churchill gun carrier as well. I've been using them on the Valentine Mark 8 for the longest time. I think they are superb at insta-banging enemy tanks. A few examples in the background of what these things are capable of, and whilst they're not the best tanking weapon in the game and are quite situational, they are certainly a whole lot of fun. Now I've made videos in the past looking at these in a bit more depth. I think I showed some gameplay from a friend of mine who goes by the name of Eros, where he was playing on Hamada Fortress and these things glitched out, netting him over 100 kills when he only fired one round of them. I believe that bug has been fixed. Nonetheless, these things are still very powerful. Now the idea behind them is that these strings or snakes of explosives would be fired out in front of the tank, clearing any potential mines or explosives in the way. They detonate and blow up anything around them. In Battlefield 5 they will do the same thing, however they are incredibly powerful versus armour, infantry, and to be honest anything that gets in the way. You get 5 of these things, and you can fire them one at a time, although I always like to fire all 5 of them for maximum damage. You can see more examples in the background. The reason though that they can be quite tricky to use is that you only get 5 before you have to go back to a resupply station and get some more, plus they detonate when they hit the ground, meaning you have to fire them a little bit earlier than really you'd expect to with a tank shell or something like that. They also do damage to your own tank, so don't fire them and then drive over them because you will explode, and the damage you've seen me putting onto the enemy tank, well, that'll happen to you. Quite embarrassing if it happens. Thankfully it's never happened to me. I've nearly destroyed my tank a few times but never managed to actually suicide properly. They are really great, and I think the thing that sets them apart for me and the reason I use them so much is because when I'm up against a tank that's sneaked up on me and I can't do anything about him, I'll just switch to these and one bang him. So let's take a look at the specializations for the Valentine. It's pretty simple stuff for anyone who's used it before. I go for the right hand side with the increased ammo capacity. I then always pick the middle because the AT mines replace your smoke. It would be nice to have AT mines, but I don't want to remove the smoke. Then, of course, I think you have to go for that 6-pounder. It packs a punch, slower rate of fire, but definitely useful for everything else. The APCR rounds, I haven't tried them yet. They were broken in the last patch. Maybe they are working this time around, I'm not sure, but this video is about the mine-clearing line charge, so that's what we're going for. I think with the Churchill it's the snake something, snake string, I'm not too sure what they call it, but this one, it's the mine clearing line charge. Definitely go for it and try it out. It is a situational weapon. A lot of people like a tank that can perform both in CQB against infantry, longer range farming infantry, and then take out enemy tanks at as many ranges as possible. Unfortunately the Valentine, whilst a great all-rounder, will be in trouble against certain tanks, and since the patch, since this 5.2 update, tanking has changed a little bit. You'll be much stronger against infantry, but enemy tanks will really cause you a lot of trouble. These tank battles will go on for longer, the angles are changed. Ricochet, whilst I do like the improvements to it, I don't know, this overall angle changing nonsense is not what tanking needed. There's far more problems with tanking. What I like to do though with this loadout is get myself in a situation where I'm in a strong position, like you see on Aerodrome. Some people call it camping, I just think it's the way DICE built the game. What I'll do is I'll clear out as much stuff as I can, and from there I will then push in to the enemy team. You'll see me do it in a second. I clear out as many players as I can. My team gets a bit of a stronghold as we're about to push into the centre of Charlie. I then drive in and use these mine clearers to completely destroy any enemy defences that are in the way. Trust me, this thing will just dominate. As I said, you do have to then nip back and resupply. There's a recent update in 5.2 that has, as far as I'm aware, made resupplying a bit more difficult. You can no longer sit on a resupply station and resupply if you're receiving damage. Some might think that's fine, but for ammo, sometimes you need ammo to take a fight. And if you can't get it because you're in a fight taking damage, well, that's just stupid. Here we go though, pushing into the aerodrome. spot an enemy tank, get nice and close, make sure that I hit him with as many of the mine clearers as I can. An almighty explosion and over 1,000 points just like that. I then have to go and resupply them, but you know, it's definitely worth it. These things are so strong. Dropping back to the resupply station, I think it's always important, if you can, to have a gunner who can jump out and repair these things. One thing I will say is this update has definitely not improved the gunning experience. You will have noticed I have a squad mate in the top of this tank, and he is just getting insta-banged every single time, which really, really sucks for that guy. This recording, actually, of the aerodrome clip was the day before the update, and most of the other clips at the start of this video were of the update. A bit of a comparison, if you like, just to see the difference between the two patches. These mine clearers are still just as strong as they were because of the changes to angles in the game, and they don't seem to be affected by them. Again, my gunner will get pinged off the top of the tank as we push into there. The mine clearers, once again, doing a great job. The Valentine in general is a tank that I really enjoy playing with. Frontlines is a mode that I just love to pieces. The TTK change dropped, and I was a little bit disappointed, to be honest. On the one hand, I didn't really think that the game needed it, so why introduce a TTK change in the first place? But on the other hand, I like it when things get changed in games because it gives me more content to make, more things to do when I'm playing the game. It shakes things up, and it can only be interesting, I think, if done correctly. I don't think it has been done correctly, but you can kind of see where I'm coming from. You want to try and spice things up as much as you can with a video game that might not be doing as well as it could be. The tanks, though, are something that I always jump in when I'm having a bad time playing infantry, because I know as a player who has a lot of time in vehicles, I can get myself some kills and I can turn the tide of the match. In both frontline games on Twisted Steel, I went 50 plus for 0. Not that difficult to do. The LMGs have also been buffed, as you'll see. They're a 4-shot kill, I believe, at this range. Very strong. And I know the maps and I know how to tank, so it makes life really, really easy. One thing I will say, though, is that these changes have kind of made it even easier to farm. And the reason I'm saying this is because tank battles are a little more unpredictable, and you can't just jump in on a tank and insta-kill him and take advantage of his poor positioning. This means that I'm more likely to camp back from enemy tanks just a little bit, to be on the safe side, as you should be. Don't be aggressive for the sake of it. But infantry, the players that you really should be most worried about when you're in a tank, especially a slower tank, are always spotted. Look at this through the smoke. Everything's always spotted for me, whether it's a bug or not. I know the spotting was altered, but it's very easy when you have sneaky assault players around you spotted to see them and then decide what you want to do, as opposed to before where I'd only see them after they've already thrown their dynamite and you're in a bit of trouble. It has made tanking a little easier, and I think any vehicle players watching this video might agree with me here. I feel as if farming, with all the buffs to the LMGs and everything that they've done, is gonna be a bit strong, and you'll see a lot of people complaining about tanks once again. On Conquest, life is a little bit different. The reason for this is more angles to protect when you're playing, also more vehicles, things from the sky. You've got multiple tanks and a lot more infantry players zerging round. With the TTK changes as well, zergs will definitely be more of a thing. Big clumps of players running round in groups from flag to flag. I feel as if this tank and these mine clearers aren't really suitable for that too much, because you only get 5, so you have to resupply all the time. You might be better off going for the anti-armor rounds, or the armor penetrating rounds, if they have been fixed, although I haven't tested them, as I said. If they do work, then that's something I'd consider instead of these. Also, a lot of people were saying, why don't I get these mine clearers on the German side? I want to play as the Axis with a Panzer IV or a Tiger and be able to use these mine clearers. Well, the Germans actually get access to the AP mines, which in themselves are also fantastic, but they're more anti-infantry. If you're using the AP mines, you will never ever have enemies sneak up on you, because if they do, you just whack the AP mines and you're given an insta-kill. AP mines being absolutely awesome on the tanks, trust me. 38-2 with the AP mines, you're unkillable against close-range infantry players. You'll have to let me know what you think of this down in the comments. Is it something you're going to be trying out? I haven't included some of the larger multi-kills that I've seen in the past. As I said, I've made videos on this in the past where I've had, I think, 8-9 man feeds with these mine clearers. It's really good on Fortress on Hamada when you push up the hill, and also exceptionally good on modes where you have large clumps of enemies, maybe Grand Ops or something like that. Just playing normal Conquest and Frontlines, it was difficult to find those larger clumps. In itself, though, the tank is quite good This loadout, in fact, is really good without those mine clearers. So if you use them up, you're still going to be a pretty competitive tanker on the battlefield with the quick repair, the smoke, this 6-pounder on the front, and the good LMG. So really, I think there's nothing to hold this tank back from dominating the enemy. Hopefully you found the video useful. Maybe it's opened your eyes to something you want to use. Let me know in the comments if you're already using it or you've found something better. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.